Good evening, everyone. My name is Dana Render. I'm the Director of Education for Trees Atlanta, and you were just hearing from Judy Yee, who is our Director of Outreach and Marketing. Just to give you a couple of housekeeping notes, we are recording this webinar, so this presentation will be on our website after the meeting is over. You can find that at treesatlanta.org/D12, which is the same link you used to register. Additionally, Judy and I will be moderating and looking for questions and answers in the Q&A section of the webinar, which is at the bottom of your screen. And when we get to that session, we will read those questions aloud and have them answered. Anything that we don't get to tonight because of time, we will respond in writing. Additionally, if we have any reporters or media professionals in the audience tonight, this is an off-the-record meeting right now, and if you are looking for a formal statement, please email judy@treesatlanta.org. Additionally, if you're joining us by phone tonight and you want to text in a question, you may send in a question to 404-913-2507. Now, we're going to throw a poll question on the screen right now just to get us started. We are very curious to see what neighborhood you're joining us from. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to go ahead and answer that if you don't mind, and then we'll share that.
It says Q4, Dana.
Oops, sorry. That's my bad.
There we go. Thanks, Judy. So if you wouldn't mind going ahead and answering that for us, we're very curious. This is great. A couple of seconds on that. Awesome. Okay. A lot of Oakland City community members here. Awesome. So thank you for participating in that poll. Judy, you can go ahead and share those results so that we can see where everyone's from. Thank you for participating in that. And we're going to move right along to the next part of our presentation. We do have a guest speaker, and that is Joyce Sheperd, who is council member for District 12. She is a longtime Trees Atlanta volunteer, and we are excited to have her here today. Joyce?
Thank you all so much for having me. I'm so excited to have Trees Atlanta come to District 12 on the south side of Atlanta. You all are moving from, I've been to your place over Memorial Drive. It's a beautiful spot, but I am so happy that you all made the choice to move into the Beltline area in District 12 on Water Street, right next door to the Beltline. You actually sit between several neighborhoods, as you all as I've talked to y'all before to let you know. You actually are in set between Oakland City and Adair Park. And then right down the street is Capitol View, but you'll also share it with the Sylvan Hill community, my Pittsburgh community, and West End. I'm probably missing some other neighborhoods, but you're in a great neighborhood with a lot of folks who have a lot of ambition and dreams and support in terms of who we are as a community on the south side of Atlanta. Our community is growing in leaps and bounds with so many things coming from the Beltline to development to so many different things. And again, I'm just proud. I'm a tree person. I love Trees Atlanta. I've been working with you all for years. You all have put so many trees throughout my community in the city of Atlanta. You all have been around in our communities for years. And I want to thank you all as Trees Atlanta for what you all do. You all are excellent what you do. And whenever y'all reach out to me, I'm always saying, put trees over here, put trees over there. Sometimes I'm saying, okay, that was a lot of trees you put out and didn't let nobody know. But anyway, thank you all for what you do. I've been out there with you all putting trees in the community. I was actually on Deal Avenue the other day. And I remember when you all put trees on Deal Avenue, all of the crepe myrtles. And they're now actually adult crepe myrtles. And as you go down the street at this time of the year in the summer, they're growing, they're beautiful. Again, you all do a great job of actually engaging across the city. And I can't wait for you all to build out and be in our neighborhoods on Warner Street. So I'm very excited, as I'm sure the community is. That's why, you know, we're having all these community outreach meetings to make sure that we're actually having really valid, transparent community input from the community as y'all begin to build and move into our community. So again, thank you all for being here, and I look forward to hearing from you all and the community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Joyce. We also have Trish Treadwell, who is our board president of Trees Atlanta. She's been on our board for the past 8 years. Thank you, Trish.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm very excited to have this community outreach program tonight, but also just in anticipation of our move across the city. Trees Atlanta was already established at the Candida Center when I joined the board, and that's where I've always kind of identified it with. But as we've grown over the last, even just in this last 5 years, we completely outgrew our space and we needed to find a new home. And we found this amazing piece of property that we thought, not only can we build a new home there in this Oakland City area, but also it's going to be a vibrant, growing area. And we actually have a chance, we believe, to make that property even better with what we're doing as we plan our move in. What we are most excited about right now, though, is getting to know all of you who are going to be our neighbors. And so we're looking forward to that. And it'll be a while before we actually move in. That's not going to be until 2022, if all goes well. So we have a couple of years to hopefully begin to establish relationship with the neighbors who aren't familiar with Trees Atlanta already, and we're really looking forward to that. We are certainly committed to making sure that our organization blends in with the community that we're in, and we're hoping that the children in that community come to our camps, join our youth tree team. We're hoping that this is the community where we get our volunteers, where we get future employees and staff members. We really want to work towards being fully integrated in the community, and are looking forward to that. And from our perspective, at least from the board's perspective, again, we're excited about being there. We're excited about the move, and we look forward to questions and opportunities to discuss what our role can be within the community. Thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you so much, Trish. So we're going to continue on to the next part of our presentation. You will hear from Connie Veates next. And again, as we keep moving forward, if you have questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your webinar screen. And then if you have any questions and you're joining us by phone, you can text 404-913-2507.
Great. Thank you, Dana, and thank you, Joyce and Trish, for your comments. To everyone here tonight, we apologize that we're having to do this in Zoom. We had planned in July to have a face-to-face meeting on site. We had planned to have little stations where you could actually start to see some of the plans in future, but we are following the mayor's phased approach around COVID-19. So as part of that, we didn't feel that it was safe for us or you guys to be out there. So that's why we had to back up to Zoom. But this is one of the first conversation we're having. We're hoping soon we'll go to phase 2 and we can get back out there and really show you the location in person. Today, I also wanted to mention a couple other people that are going to be speaking on the panel today. Greg Levine, my co-executive director, will be here. You've already met Dana, who's our director of education, and Judy, our director of marketing and outreach. We also have Brian Williams, our director of urban forestry, Dave Simpson, our director of tree planting, and then our special guest are our new construction company friends, Brian Oliver and Rob Spa from DPR. And I have to tell a little side story here. Greg and I and our building task force had many conversations with different architects and landscape architects and also construction companies. And we were very impressed with DPR and their philosophy and their folks. But we just thought they were great people. And yesterday we were preparing who was going to be saying what on this webinar. Trish said, "Are you the Brian Oliver?" And Greg and I had absolutely no idea what she was talking about, but we found out he seems to be a legend in his own right at Georgia Tech as a basketball player. So once we get live in person, I have a feeling Brian's going to have some interesting side stories to tell us as well. Did want to tell you a few things about what we hope to accomplish during this webinar today. First of all, to tell you more, of course, about our move and the construction of our new headquarters. Our staff is so excited about this. We've dreamed about this for several years. We've had 3 locations. One is Murphy Crossing, right adjacent to this property. The other's in Reynoldstown, and then we had one over by Inman Park. And our staff really wants to get back together again, and we searched long and hard trying to figure out the best place in Atlanta to be, and we landed on this area. So we are super pumped, and we just can't wait till we actually get this thing built and get to be part of the neighborhood. This is just the first meeting, so there'll be lots of time to hear lots of input over the months from you guys. We will continue to serve all of Metro Atlanta, but tonight we'd really like to start the conversation about what we can do, not just to be a good neighbor in the community, but a great neighbor. So we really welcome your input on all of this, especially how you would like to share the space with us. And we are going to tell you a little bit about our programming as well. Hopefully most of you are familiar with Trees Atlanta, but if you have other ideas of things we can do to help you in the community, we'd love to hear it. So I think, Judy, are we going to another poll?
We are. At this point, we'd like to know, those of you in the audience, is this the first Trees Atlanta event that you've attended? If you could take a few seconds and give us your response. Fantastic. It looks like people have told us that the majority of you, this is the first event that you've attended. Welcome to Trees Atlanta. I hope that you will enjoy getting to know us a little better as Connie tells us a little more about our programs.
Sure. Can you bring up the next slide, please?
Sure.
So, of course, we're all about trees, and the reason is because they bring so much to the community. There's so many benefits. I won't go through all of these, but surely here in Atlanta in August, you can certainly tell the difference when you're walking under the canopy of a tree versus some of our 95 and 96-degree days. It's also great for all the wildlife and creatures that live amongst the trees. And we have found that it improves education outcomes and student behaviors when they're exposed to trees. And there are a lot of studies that show that it really helps the health of residents, not only physically with impacts like on asthma, but also their mental health. There's something relaxing if you're under a canopy. Go to the next one, please. So Trees Atlanta's mission is to really protect and improve Atlanta's urban forest by planting, conserving, and educating. And now I'll tell you about a couple of the different programs that we have in each of these areas. Of course, planting, that's what most people know about us. We plant trees from October through March, and that's because it gets so hot in April through September, the trees have a harder time living. It's very stressful for them. But in April to September, we maintain the trees, and usually that means watering and mulching and pruning to make sure that they don't just survive, but that they thrive. Can we go back, please, Judy?
Sure.
And we do this through volunteer projects. So we have tons of volunteers all across Atlanta that come out throughout the week and also on the weekends to help us get all of these trees in the ground and take care of them. And then the urban trees are great big trees. We really have to use heavier equipment to get those trees in the ground. And a lot of this is we have contracts with different municipalities. So for example, we have contracts with the city of Atlanta to plant trees. And then we also have some throughout Metro Atlanta in places like Dunwoody and Hayville and others. Forest restoration, that's where we come into an area, and you see here Decatur Cemetery in 2008. It's totally overrun with bad plants. We call them invasives. And there's things like kudzu and privet and English ivy. So we go through and get rid of those. We try not to use chemicals. So some of the cutest and hardest working employees that we get is that sometimes we rent goats, and they'll come in there and they eat everything, and I mean everything. So it takes a while for them to completely eradicate these invasive plants, but once they do, then we can go in and replant with native trees and plants. And right now we're in about 30 different local forest and green spaces where we're doing forest restoration. Educating, that's one of our programs that we are most proud of. We have a lot of adult education programs, and that's great. We love to teach adults all about trees and how to identify them and how to take care of them. But what we have come to realize is that people who care most about the environment usually were inspired by someone as a child, whether it was a parent or a step parent or grandparent or their teacher. So we spend a lot of our time trying to make sure we get to the youngest Atlantans to teach them why it's so important to take care of trees and to care about the ecology of our city. The picture here is a photo of our youth tree team, and that's our high school program. It's one of my favorite programs. This year we had 28 youth that participated from 21 different high schools around Atlanta. It's a 7-week summer job program. They go out and work alongside our crews to get our work done. But just as importantly, about half their time is spent with professional development. We're teaching them financial literacy. We're teaching them how you go about work just from day to day, because they've never had jobs before, many of these folks, because they're so young. And then we also expose them to green collar jobs, which means different jobs in the environmental sector. We were very proud of the fact that this graduating group this year, we tested them at the year end and asked a poll for them. And for the first time ever, it was the highest number, that 60% of them said they were interested in going to green collar jobs. So this is something that we're very proud of, and we hope to work with this community as well to get more people from this area involved in the youth tree team and some of our other jobs.
Oh, jeez.
Uh-oh, you got Greg. Can you go back one? Advocacy is something we work on, and that's where we're really trying to be the voice of the trees. We do that several ways. We have canopy conversations where we meet with different NPUs and neighborhoods to try to find out how we can assist in their communities. This year, we've just launched a brand new initiative. It's called the 1 Million Trees Initiative. And our goal is to try to get 1 million trees throughout Metro Atlanta within 10 years. And we're working with 10 plus nonprofits. We already have 10 other nonprofits signed up. And we also are looking to get 10 cities across Metro Atlanta. We have several already signed up, including the city of Atlanta. So we feel like we've got a good shot of getting that done. You may have heard about the tree protection ordinance. The city rewrites that usually about 10 years or so. But we have been working with many groups, including the city of Atlanta and a lot of citizens, trying to come up with changes that will even improve the tree protection ordinance, especially since there's so much development going on in Atlanta. We want to make sure that we do everything right to protect our trees.
Greg, you're on mute.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry we can't be there in person. We are, again, we are very excited about moving to the west side of Atlanta. And as many of the speakers have said, we've done a lot of tree planting in the neighborhoods, but we do a lot of other programming as well. And as we look at into the new building, as we go to the next slide, Judy. As y'all know, if you look at the location here, it is in the area of Murphy Crossing, this right adjacent to the 17-acre redevelopment side of the Beltline, and next to Luma Farms. And when we're looking at this overall space, we are looking to build a 20,000 square foot building, and it's on a 3-acre site. And in the future, what we would like to see happening in this space is obviously activate all of our programming, but also really bringing in the community through education programming, the use of the space for everything from passive trail use, but also for community gatherings. And we also, as Connie had said earlier, hire a lot of youth, 28 this past year, but we also have seasonal jobs as well. And we're hoping that by being in the Adair Park, Oakland City neighborhoods, we will be able to get more local people to apply for many of our seasonal and our future full-time jobs as well. So we're real excited about the actual location and the future uses of the building. You can move to the next slide, Judy. For those that aren't familiar with the exact location, it was the past site of the bakery, run as a very creative art space. You can see the tower that's a existing component of it that we plan on keeping. And it's pretty much about 95% impervious surfaces. And in a building that is pretty much needing a lot of work as it is a very old building that has had a lot of issues for structure and other things like that. A little bit about the site, just so everybody can see exactly what direction we're in. If you're looking at the top of the page, that is the north side of the facility. And obviously to the left, where you can see Bigland Street, would be the west. So when I'm talking about it, I want to just give you a good sense of when I'm talking about directions, you know where you are in this discussion. It is a 3-acre site, again, mostly impervious surfaces. We are looking to put a 20,000 square foot building on it. And it's going to be a 2-story building. One of the first comments that we got from staff and some of our supporters is that we didn't want to have a big long building that took up the majority of the site. So it is a 2-story building. And if you're going from left to right, I'll describe the schematic plan for the site. Again, this is a schematic plan. It's pretty early on in design, but we will be soon going into design and development, which is the next phase of design when we start to look at it more closely and get more details into both the building and the layout of the site. So if you're looking at it from left to right, as we go from west to east, you can see number 1 is where all of our work happens as far as the actual work, as far as the program staff and our operations staff go out every day to go out into the city and do tree planting and restoration work. We call it the operations space. And the immediate exit to the left would be how operations would leave the building, or leave the operations space, or leave the facility. Whereas we see on the south side, the 6 that is the actual parking lot with about 50 parking spaces in the site. That is going to be the greenest, most forested parking lot that you will have ever seen, as Trees Atlanta really wanted to balance reducing the impervious surfaces and maximizing our green space. The parking lot will have a lot of green infrastructure included in it, and we can get into more details in future meetings about how that green infrastructure will work. But a lot of water collection for using it in the landscape, and also for collection for future waterings for tree plantings around the city. As you move further east, number 2 will be a loading dock. For those that have volunteered with us, we have to unload a lot of trees. You can see the tractor trailer that is actually to scale in this drawing between number 1 and number 2. The loading dock will be a place to unload our trucks on a daily basis, but also tractor trailers for unloading plants. As you look above that on the north side, it is number 8. That is going to be a walking trail with obviously a lot of tree planting. We are looking at planting about 150 trees, anywhere from 125 to 150 trees on the site. This walking trail will be open to the community to enjoy, but also for demonstration, future educational programming, training for both community, but also possibly job training for green jobs, which we're hoping to work with other nonprofit organizations to do. And if you look slightly north of that green space landscaped area, that is an area that Beltline Inc. has between the building and our property. We're working with Beltline Inc. right now to include that, to create a better walking trail and a better green space for the community to use, as well as if you look on the northeast side, the top right, that will be a connector trail to the actual Beltline, also planted in trees. Below the 8, you can see a plaza area with a red dot. That plaza area is approximately 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. We believe that can be used for community events, possibly for rental events that will help the organization bring in some revenue, and also education programming, because we obviously would like to focus our education programming focused on green space trees and meadows and wildflowers and things like that. So we really wanted to have a larger education space outside than we've had in our current space. One of the big changes that we're hoping to do at this community space versus our current one is make it much more accessible to the community. And again, having it for communities to use, anything from a neighborhood meeting to possible environmental meetings in other community space that they might need. If you look at number 3, that is the operations building where storage of trucks and tools would be. And number 4 is actually what you would call a dog trot. The building number 3 and number 5 are connected by a kind of a bridge. And you can walk underneath the building where number 4 is to get from the plaza to the parking lot. But above it will actually be a staff lunchroom, a conference room, and our boardroom. Right now in the original concept drawings that we have at this time. Whereas number 5 is the main administration building with our program offices and the community space and education classrooms. And so this will include some level of general community that can be there for education classes, but we're also hoping it can be for community to rest if they're going to the Beltline, or to rest inside for a little bit of cool air if they're enjoying the public green space.
So Greg, do you think we can look at some of the other views?
Sure, but I'm going to talk real quickly about number 10. Number 10 is the final, is going to be a meadow. It's about 3,000 to 4,000 square foot meadow with a little bit of a smaller plaza area between it and the main building. So this is a view from Warner Street, and you can see if you're looking straight on in the middle of the page, those large windows, that is what we call the dog trot. The building to the right is the main program building, and to the left is the operations. This is the area from Warner Street. We've already gotten some input. We haven't really shared. This is really the first time we've shared these drawings publicly. But our task force has already made a comment about how this looks like the front door, and we would like to change that. It's a door for bus drop off and for leaving the building, but not the main door in concept. So in concept, you can see where all these people are. This is the driveway actually goes in. The sidewalk is more to the right. We do want people to be able to walk to the main plaza, but also if they park in our parking lot, they could walk to the Beltline as well. The front door is proposed. The front door is proposed to be at the corner of the two buildings. This is coming from the Beltline. You can see the landscape looks just like grass right now and some trees. The landscape has not been designed. We do know we want a walking trail through it, and we want a lot of demonstration, education places throughout the whole landscape. We also are interested in having components of play for youth. When we say play, not necessarily a playground, but a place for youth to be out in nature and explore in some sort of play. We don't know exactly what that will look like, and are looking forward to talking to more of our neighbors and neighborhoods about what that could be. You can see the tower is still in the landscape. We plan on preserving the tower, and we don't know what that use would be. Again, we're very interested in hearing from the community on whether it's just a sculpture or other uses that it could possibly have. This slide looks at the dog trot from the plaza, and you can also see to the left how the trail would wrap around the larger meadow. One more piece of this, they're proposing, as you can see the area underneath the building, that would be a outdoor screened classroom. So again, that we could have outdoor classes, but have some privacy. Again, it's a concept right now. I don't know exactly how that would work, because you could have education both in the screened in classroom, but also in the plaza itself.
Okay, great. Thank you, Greg. Before we move on, Brian, as you prepare, I'd like to launch another poll. I skipped over a poll, so we'll have to catch up. So let me allow me to ask you, What program area most interests you? I know that Connie gave you an overview of some of our program areas very quickly. If you could indicate which of these areas might be of most interest to you, we will close down the poll rather quickly just to keep us on track. But we'd like to hear which program area interests you. Just a few more coming in. I'll count down to the end of the poll. 3, 2, 1. And I'm sure that other people will want to answer, but let me end the poll. And here are the results. So we have a lot of people who love continued education. So we will have plenty of excellent events for you. And then if I could ask one more question, which is, which feature of the site and building are you most likely to use? So once the building is open in 2022, which area or which feature are you most likely to use? Oh, sorry about that. Did I do that wrong? Here you go. Sorry about that. Which feature of the site and building are you most likely to use? And we'll do that super quickly. And then we'll talk to Brian, our superstar.
He's never going to live this down, I'm afraid.
Oh, I know. Once you put that out, I mean, come on.
I really appreciate you guys making me feel really good about myself now. To have my wife and my daughter listen in on it and have you guys be like my publicists.
Well, at least you don't have a mob to ask for your autograph afterwards. Well, thank you for voting. I'm going to end that poll, and here are the results. So most people are really excited about the outdoor spaces and the community space. So thank you for sharing. I'll stop sharing these results, and Brian, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you for joining tonight. For those of you who are looking at my face, and if it seems like my head is really, really big, it's probably because of my ego that has been inflamed. So thank you first, Trish, for putting me on blast, and Connie and Judy for giving me all of that excellent love. Again, for many of you, DPR Construction, we are super excited to be part of the Trees Atlanta team. This is a project that when we interviewed for, we were super excited. And I'm sure Connie and Greg will probably echo that when we came in, we let it be known that this was something that we were excited about because we thought that there was a lot of alignment as far as DPR Construction and our goals and how we aligned ourselves with projects and with Trees Atlanta and their vision for the community. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that when we were awarded this project, I won a lot of street cred with my 10-year-old daughter because as a young person who's very into how we can protect the environment, when she found out that I was involved with this project, my cool level went up about another 10 points. So again, my job as the project manager not only is to make sure that we bring this project in time and on budget, but also to make sure that the day-to-day activities that we have do not impact the day-to-day for you guys in the community. I pride myself on being on many other projects in the past. We had a project a few years ago in Decatur that was in the community for the Veterans Center. A few other years ago, we built the renovation to the Boys and Girls Club, Warren Holyfield Club. And we were able to work with the community to make sure that the impacts were very, very minimal. Over the last 7 years, and where I'm currently now is over at Morehouse School of Medicine on the other side of 20 near the West End. And so again, my goal, and for our project team, is to make sure that we keep you involved. I'm very big on communication. And making sure that as far as normal working hours, traffic and street closures, that we communicate those well in advance and that we're an active listener. All of us are part of this big team of trying to bring this project in. For me, again, as your project manager, I'm hoping that as the project goes into 2 phases, the first one being the site work, that'll start probably sometime in early fall. that we can protect the area around and make sure that any of the impacts are very minimal to the community and the day-to-day. As we move into 2021 and the actual construction of the project, making sure that, again, that all of our deliveries, special road closures are things that are communicated, that we as a team are able to make sure that we take care of all the things that need to keep on schedule. One of the things I think will be really good that can probably be shared with Trees Atlanta and posted to their website is that we normally put out a weekly construction activity report that basically will let everyone know how the project is progressing, to give you some activities as they're going along. I will be the day-to-day contact. I'm sure a little bit later on, my email address and my phone number will be shared. I want you guys to all think of me as your project manager, and I am available to listen to make sure that, again, the impacts throughout construction are very minimal. Again, I'm very excited about this project. I know that as we go further along from one stage to the other, there may be some small challenges, but I'm looking forward for us all being able to get through this, work through the schedule and all the sites. I know that later on that there may be some site tours that can be coordinated through Trees Atlanta. I'm looking forward to being able to make this project and this new home for Trees Atlanta a very big part of the community, making sure that everyone's proud of this new addition. Thank you for having me.
So Brian, do you want to go over some of your slides?
Sure. Can you go to the next one? So again, we talked about our on-site DPR team. Rob Spall, who's on the call, is our project exec. Caleb Ogden is our superintendent. He'll be with me on the site from the day-to-day. That's handling all the construction activities. Jessica Thompson will be our project engineer that will work closely with the design team to ensure that everything from the beginning of construction, as far as deliveries, submittals, RFIs, and communication. This is a mass timber project that we've got some really good assets that will help us from different areas. Andrew Osimo, who I think is the main brain trust at the beginning of the project to help us with budget to make sure that we stay in line with the financial goals for Trees Atlanta. We've got a really good team that's really committed and excited about this project. Would you like to go to the next one? Again, I talked about a lot of how we thought as DPR and Trees Atlanta that we have a lot of goals and our methodologies that are in alignment, respect for the individual, and we believe in changing the world and how you can impact the community, not so much for what you say and what you do. We love to build things, and we're deeply interested and committed into those and how and who is involved to make it happen. So again, that's something that I feel is really important for our project team. Commitment to the community. One of the things that DPR believes in is how we can give back. I mentioned about our involvement with the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta. We do a lot of outreach programs and work on a lot of different things in the community because, again, we take pride as a company in making sure that we give back and we can be impactful in the community by our actions more so than our words. Again, I talked about schedule, site logistics, communication, traffic, and street closure. So again, I will be the day-to-day contact. Again, if there are ever any concerns, my cell number will be made available as you see there, and also my email address. So again, I'm looking forward to working with everyone as we venture forward on this project.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Dana?
Excellent, thank you all. We're now going to move into our question and answer session of the presentation. You're welcome to continue to submit questions. If we run out of time, we will address the questions that we do not get to. So we do have a few that have already come in. And the first one is, can you speak on the authentic community engagement and the use of the building? This looks like it's going to be a beautiful building. And when looking at the economic flow into Lee and White, and how much of the money that is generated makes it into the surrounding community and for how long. A lot of the promises that were made were not honored regarding community engagement with current and not gentrified community residents.
Okay, sure. Greg, would you like to take this one?
Sure. So all of them, we are a nonprofit organization. So all the money that we raise goes back into the community, whether it be through tree planting or forest restoration. As far as use of the building, we do plan on having a classroom that is available for neighborhoods to meet in at no charge or little charge if there's cleanup, and also for other environmental nonprofits to use. So we hope to have that space built in. We also, all of our programming will be to help the environment for the community around it. As far as engagement, we are going to speak with as many neighborhoods as they are interested, and we'll continue to speak to them throughout the process. And we are in the very beginning of design. So to best answer your question, we really want the community to be in the space. And again, part of it will be that we will have a community space as you walk in the door that people can use whenever the building is open.
Yeah, and I'll just add that we're hoping, a lot of the community, the input we need, we're trying to figure out the days of the weeks and the times that it would be best for the community to come into the facility. So typically our other facilities are not open, for example, on Sunday and only on evenings during events and things. But if that's something that's appealing, we'd love to hear more about that.
The next question, someone's very interested in having goats clear out some of their invasive plants in Oakland City. They hear it's an extremely expensive process and typically sponsored by the city. Can you speak on available grants, partnerships, or ways that they can look into this further?
Hey, Brian, can you tell us a little bit about when y'all have used the goats?
I can. I figured that one was coming my way. So it can be expensive, and that reputation is there because if you're using goats only, you have to do it periodically. You have to repeat it. It's management. It's not eradication. So that may be where kind of the idea of the expense is coming from. The city doesn't really provide funding for prescribed grazing. Most of what Trees Atlanta does is funded internally by Trees Atlanta or by a grant, as was mentioned. And there are plenty of conservation and restoration grants out there that you can include prescribed grazing as a component in. It's just a means to an end, the same as you might include a volunteer project as a means to an end. So it's definitely doable, and I would encourage the individual asking this question, sorry I don't have it pulled up right here, to contact me. My email is brian@treesatlanta.org, and I can give you more information than time allows for right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So the next question is, we appreciate the commitment to preserving nature. There are aspects of the culture in that space we would like to preserve as well. We've lost a great space for cutting edge arts and music. Are there plans to replace what we're losing from the bakery?
We have actually, and Greg, you can jump in after this, but we have talked to the architects. We think that maybe the grain tower, that might be some sort of mural, even using some of the art that was inside the building. Greg, did you have anything else that you can think of?
Well, we've gotten to know Willow, who is the director of the bakery, very well. And from her future and her planning, as COVID pretty much ended the programming for her early, she's not sure what she wants to do next. She'd already planned on moving to a smaller facility because it was actually too large for her to manage, and the building was not in good enough condition as well. It's definitely the arts are definitely hurting right now and throughout the city, and before COVID, but certainly right now. And we've actually had a lot of conversation with Willow about possibly having some programming, but she's not even sure what she wants to be doing. And since so that's really all we know right now. But we have been in constant communication with her.
It might be a good idea too, as we start working more with the architects to get the further design. we'd be happy to share some of the art ideas that they have with the community to get your input to see if it's reflective of what you'd like to see every day.
And we're also open to having some art components be part of the facility and programming, but just remember that we are an environmental group, and relating art to environment is certainly very doable. And we've had a lot of art programming in the past, and we'll continue to do so.
One question comes in, ask, are there any current projections as to how Trees Atlanta's new development may impact property taxes and property values?
Greg, you look like you're itching to answer that one.
I'm not itching to answer that one, but I'll try. You know, I mean, this whole area is a very much an industrial area. And as far as, you know, nonprofits give back to the community, there is no study on how it would affect that. I think it tends to be what affects more are very expensive housing projects and fancy retail. We don't plan on being that. We plan on being a community center, and I can't, you know, probably all improvements can affect gentrification. We don't believe that will be a major component of that, but we will continue to contribute and give to the community throughout, and be a place that community can gather and plan to protect their community in the future.
Yeah, and I do know that in Reynoldstown, when we first moved there about 10 years ago, property values, they skyrocketed at the end over many, many years, but I don't think that it was much attributable to our building as it was to the whole area changing, you know, kind of independently, because as Memorial Drive from the Capitol on just started blowing up.
All right. Is protecting Atlanta's existing mature hardwood tree canopy part of Trees Atlanta's mission?
Dave, would you like to talk about that one? Is Dave still with us?
There we go. Sorry, I was struggling to unmute myself. Yes, protecting existing canopy is certainly a part of our mission. And you heard in an earlier slide about the invasive removal work that Brian Williams' staff actually manage, but we also impact, we try to advocate with our municipal partners, our corporate partners, and other entities through our Million Trees initiative to protect trees. So part of the way that we're trying to achieve that 1 million trees is by not only counting trees that are being planted, but also trees that are being saved for perpetuity. And so we're trying to affect saving existing by making sure we're improving the quality of that urban forest, but also making sure that pieces are in place to help make sure that that land can be protected from development.
I would just wanted to add something really quickly to that. We also work very closely with the other members of the Atlanta Canopy Alliance, so that as a group, we're all working on this. So it's not just on Trees Atlanta working towards preservation of the current trees, but the the Canopy Alliance, which includes several other organizations, environmental-based organizations, including one specific to this West Atlanta area, all working together to help, one, protect the trees that we have that are in existence, as well as planting the new trees.
The next question is, what is your relationship with MARTA? Could a collaboration with MARTA and the community be viable?
I would love a collaboration with MARTA. Greg, do you have any insight on that one? That was one of the key things we were looking at when we were trying to figure out a location for our employees and the community at large. But I don't know that Greg or Brian or Dave, maybe you can talk about some of the work we've done with MARTA in the past, if any.
We have done a lot of tree planting to re-canopy MARTA parking lots when they allow us to do that. And I know that our neighborhoods team, David might be able to talk a little bit about it right now, is looking at a program that will be planting trees to shade MARTA stops. And I think they're working with MARTA or trying to work with MARTA on that currently. We did pick this location so it would be more accessible. We are less than a mile from the West End MARTA and right at a mile from Oakland City. That is we wanted to be more accessible for all community, and think that MARTA is a good way to do that. But our relationship with MARTA is been off and on for the last 20 years.
Dave, did you have anything you wanted to add on anything you're working with them on?
Yeah, as Greg was alluding to, I mean, we have planted at MARTA stations, but we're also more currently looking at getting specific ridership information from them about which bus stops have the highest ridership and how we can impact that by providing shade, and not just in kind of our typical parks and residential plantings, but in more urban areas throughout the city.
Thank you.
This question is specifically for DPR construction. Will you be using local labor, CEFGA, or West Side Works?
Sure, I'll take that one. Great question, and I'm glad you asked that, because actually we have already started on workforce development for local labor. We're strongly for that as a company, and actually myself and the architect have already met with Scott Scheller, who is actually the president of SEFCA. We had a Zoom call with him, I guess it was about a month or so ago. And for those who don't know, SEFCA stands for Construction Education Foundation of Georgia. And basically what they do is they go with high school students and younger students and try to bring them up to the trades. Some people actually may not want to go to college, which is great. We need trade partners and trade people who want to actually go through the trade. So we also have two people within our company who came up through SEFCA. Both of them, one of them is an excellent superintendent right now, and one of them is actually on Brian Oliver's job site right now, Khalil Davis, who we've already talked to SEFCA about possibly having some I guess one-on-one conversations and some meetings together with the community to talk about how he came up through SEFCA and how we can use the community and the local labor to supplement and to help us with the project itself. So.
Thank you. This question, will there be space for local nonprofits or small business owners to potentially have office in the space?
Right now, we are in talks with the Conservation Fund, going blank here, Conservation Fund to co-locate with us. They're close to signing an agreement with that. We have limited space that we know of as far as for long-term, just because this location is not that much bigger than the other locations if you took all three and added all the square footage up. But having said that, we're still open to maybe people coming in and using the space. We'll have probably 2 education classroom spaces that have a lot of room. The other thing that we've really been talking to the architects about is trying to have indoor-outdoor type space. So we want places where people feel that they can easily work outside as well. So there may be some room for that in addition. Greg, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Sure. I mean, I think, Erica, if you're familiar with the Milwaukee's Urban Ecology Center, and there is a lot of community space where people do go to that space and use it to work. We don't know exactly how much of that we'll have, but we're very open to having places where people can sit down with their computers and do some work. So I guess we get more input from the community to see if that's what they're looking for, then we'll talk to the architects to see how that might work better in the space once we start to design it more inside.
We're hoping though that the community will feel, whether they're in part of an organization or just individuals, that it's a more welcoming space maybe than our Candida Center in Reynoldstown is. It's got more of a corporate feel. We're hoping that this will be a place where people will want to come in and wander and check their internet and visit and get to know us better.
And our last question that we have here is, who is the architect for this project?
It's Lord X Sargent, and the landscape architect is Andrew Pogan.
Lord X Sargent also designed the living building. So we're really pushing to have a very green building. As y'all would all probably assume that would be the case.
Yeah, and the living building is the building at Georgia Tech. That's one of the greenest in the country. It was just launched, I guess, last year, right, Greg?
That's correct.
Okay. I believe we've answered actually all the questions that were submitted. If you have any questions that you couldn't think of and you think of some later, feel free to send us an email. Judy, I believe you'll tell them how to do that.
I will. Before I wrap up with just a brief housekeeping closing notes, Councilmember Sheperd, thank you so much for joining us. Did you have a final comment before we leave?
Yes, I really want to make sure that we continue to have these dialogues with the community. I see the participants right now is about 32. I'm hoping that hopefully between now and next year, as we begin to build out, that we can have more conversations and ask more questions. And I think it would be people, if they came to the site, they will probably have a huge amount of more questions to ask. But because of COVID-19 and the virus, we can't do that. But again, I'm excited. I would like to ask you all to continue to have dialogue with the community. I appreciate the fact that y'all been going to neighborhood association meetings and MPUs. And as you all move forward with your project, to continue to have that dialogue so people can engage. I believe you have a survey out there also. Can you talk a little bit about the survey?
Thank you. You're a wonderful segue there. So we do have a survey that does ask a few more in-depth questions about how you would like to see us share the building with the neighborhood. If you would go back to our main page at treesatlanta.org/D12, there is a link to a survey, and that if you can complete, that would be great. And we understand that a lot of community members are not connected to this digital platform, and we want to make sure that there's multiple ways that people can give their input and share their ideas. So there is a phone number for people to call to leave a voicemail message with their comments on that site. If you could share that with others, that would be great. And that number is 404-609-3373, and we'll take that as voicemail. We even have a physical address that you can ask for things to be mailed to you. We can mail that survey out if they don't have access to computers. So as Councilmember Sheperd indicated, this is just the first of many community conversations that we're going to have. I've been to many in the last month or so. I have some scheduled for the weeks coming forward. And at any point, if your community or neighborhood would like an in-depth special presentation of what we covered with you today or other conversations, we'll be more than happy to arrange a conversation with you. Please reach out to me at judy@treesatlanta.org and I'll help you arrange all of that. So you'll see a lot of us. So hopefully we'll continue the conversation. Greg, Connie, anything else before we close down?
No, we're just super excited. It's so nice to virtually meet everybody.
Yep, ditto. Really excited about being on the west side of town. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and we have been doing plantings and work with the community for over 25 years, and look forward to doing more.
I think Greg's voice indicates how tired all of us are, so we better call it a night, you guys. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We will definitely continue sharing information, and again, reach out to us at any time. Good night, and thank you for joining us.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.